2.2, finding slope and rate of change. So with these, we're going to be doing a lot of finding slope, telling if it's positive, negative, 0, undefined, and then deciding if lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So the first one say to find the slope of the line passing through the given points and tell whether the line rises, falls, is horizontal or vertical. So number 4, we have the point 8, 9 and the point negative 4, 3. So the first time I'm going to write the slope formula, and then after that I won't write it anymore, but y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we plug them in, and it doesn't really matter as long as you use the same point to be your 1 for the x as you do for the y. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but I always go in order. So 3 minus 9 over negative 4 minus 8. So you get negative 6 over negative 12, which simplifies to 1/2. So because our slope is greater than 0, it's what? Rising. Eight. Negative 6, 5, and negative 6, negative 5. So in my slope formula, what do I fill in? I'm going to have y'all tell me what to put in.
Negative 5 plus 6.
Negative 5 minus 5.
Yeah.
Negative 6 plus 6.
So that's going to give you negative 10 over 0, which means what?
Undefined.
And what kind of line is it?
Vertical.
It's undefined, and it is vertical. Let's see. Let's do 12. 12 is the point 5, 5 and the point 7, 3. So what do I fill in for this one?
3 minus 5 over 7 minus 5.
Yep. So that's going to be negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. So what is this one doing? Falling. So are we okay with that kind, just finding it and telling what it is? If the slope was 0, what kind of line is it?
Horizontal.
Good. All right, so then let's move to the ones that are to tell if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So let's start with 18. We have line 1 has the points 3, negative 1, and 6, negative 4. And then line 2 has the points negative 4, 5, and negative 2, 7. So when I set up my slopes, because we have to find both of them, what I do is I'm always going to list it as like M1, and then I'm going to do like M2, so that that matches up with what's above so that I know which one I'm like looking at. I don't know why this is getting so blurry. Fix it. Okay, there we go. So, what do I put in for this first slope? Like in the formula.
-4 plus 1.
-4 plus 1 over
6 minus 3.
6 minus 3. So that's going to be -3 over 3, which is -1. So then, what about for my second slope?
7 minus 5 over -2 plus 4.
So that's going to be 2 over 2, which is 1. So 1 is -1 and 1 is 1. That was confusing. So parallel, perpendicular, or neither?
Either.
Are you sure?
Yes. Maybe. No, I'm not sure.
They're perpendicular. Okay, and I'll show you why.
No, I'm not sure. I'm just dumb.
Okay, so typically when we think perpendicular, you're thinking something like -3 and 1/3 being the slope. Okay, they're opposite inverses of each other. But would you agree that -1 is equal to -1 over 1? And that +1 is equal to 1 over 1? So technically, aren't those inverses of each other? So I always like to do this example because most people don't realize that if you have -1 and 1, those are, because that's the only one that's going to be that way. All the rest of them are actually going to be a fraction. So, anyways, I always like to do that one because it's like a trick question and it never fails. People are always like, no, it's neither. No, it's not. All right, let's do another one. First one is going to be the point -1, 4 and 2, 5. And the second one is going to be -6, 2 and 0, 4. So what do I put in for my first slope?
5 minus 4 over 2 plus 1.
So that's going to be 1 over 3. And how about the second one?
4 minus 2 over 0 plus 6.
So that's 2 over 6 or 1/3. So what are those? Parallel. And same thing. L1 is going to be the points -3, 2 and 5, 0. And then L2 is going to be -1, -4 and 3, -3. So slope 1,
0 minus 2 over 5 plus 3.
so that's -2 over 8 or -1/4. And slope 2,
-3 plus 4 over 3 plus 1.
so that is 1 over 4. So what are those? Either. All right, so the next one say to find the average rate of change in y relative to x for the ordered pairs. Include the units of measure in your answer. So you hear rate of change, what are you thinking? Good, you learned something in the video. All right, so 24, we are given the ordered pairs 2, 12 and 5, 30. And then it has a little sentence after it says X is measured in hours and Y is measured in dollars. So X is in hours, Y is in dollars. Now, a very common thing that I see happen is that when people, they do the numbers right, they find the slope correctly, but then they do their units backwards. You've got to remember when you do units that it's Y over X. So in this case, it's going to be dollars per hour. Okay, so always make sure that you check your units when you go to do it, because inevitably every year somebody flips them. So, which is easy to do because obviously you're just like, oh, X should be on top, but it's not. So, so we're gonna find the slope. So what is it for this one?
3 minus 12 over 5 minus 2.
Yep. So we've got 18 over 3 or 6, and then we have our dollars per hour. And you can either write it like this, or if you want to get, you know, like technical and write $6 per hour, that's fine too. As long as you have the units on there somehow in the right order, I do not care. And we'll do one more, and then that's all for this section. It's a pretty quick section. So you have the points 310 and 518. X is in seconds and Y is in feet. Okay, so what are my units at the end going to be for this one? Feet per second. And a lot of times, just so you know, I'll write like that because in physics we just write S for seconds. So if you do that, that's fine. But I know the abbreviation that you learn from, like, you know, 3rd grade on is SEC for second. So completely fine. Just letting you know, if you ever just see me write S, it's not like I'm just forgetting 2 letters. It's just, that's the way we do it in physics. So, all right, so what's the slope?
2 minus 10 over 5 minus 3.
Okay. So 8 over 2, which is 4 feet per second. See, I just did it naturally that time. I just stopped and didn't even think about it.
In physical science, we had to do like some math stuff, and that's how we did it too, with like just the F's.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the thing, because like when you do it in science, a lot of times they'll just have you write S, but like if you're in math, they'll be like, no, it's SEC, and I'm like, it really doesn't matter. Like, as long as it's known what you're doing, like, it's fine. All right, so I'm just giving you a few: 3, 5, 11, 13, 21, and 25.